Hello, this is Oregon Moto John doing a tidy tail with existing parts on a 2022 FE 350S. The first step is removing the seat, and it's just one bolt comes out of here, and then the seat pulls back and off. So back and off. Just tidy it up a little bit with the parts that are there. You can actually use all the parts that are there. Was having a little bit of trouble disassembling this back tail, but then went to thumpers.com, and somebody gave some excellent tips on that, so thanks guys. But basically, first of all, pull off the clips here on the back, so you'll pull this from the back off, and the other side is actually the opposite. It pulls off, its tab is on the front, so you'll pull that one off from the front and then back and forward. So the key to splitting this all apart, I wanted to catch it before it was too late to go back. You remove all the screws up in the fender there. You remove all the screws in the undersurface of this. There's like 4, and then this splits apart, comes claves in half, and then you have the screws. What was catching me is I thought I had to take this fender off first, but really, somebody at Thumper talked about basically that this black fender comes off the subframe. And so you remove all those screws here, and then it comes apart. So that's awesome. And it looks like there's a couple little screws up here that came out right there. So this one, and then this black part comes forward. I took a little nylon, I wouldn't call it a screwdriver, but trim piece, put that in here, and was able to pop out this subframe black fender, and got it apart. Here's an example of this little nylon screwdriver I use. It's just nylon, it's for trim. I use this all the time for prying things apart, and it doesn't damage things. Anyway, so, and then to get this taillight apart, you have to unplug, the blinkers unplug here. But the key was I had to find this. One of the stoplights was up and under kind of the air box, kind of up in here, plugged in. So I saw it up in there, unplugged it, and then it pulls out, and then you can unzip tie it here, pull it through and get it out, pull it out, and then you can get it in through the part that's already existing. That'll fit right in there and should work fine. So wanted to get an update on this before I got this all apart and couldn't show you guys. So we're at the midpoint of tidying this all up. Once you get this cut in half, it's just a matter of unplugging your blinkers, which can be seen, those plugins can be seen right here. There's a left and right. You could reuse these stock blinkers and kind of bolt them on here, drill a hole, or you could use these Sickass racing blinkers. Either one would work. I'm going to fit both up and see which ones I like the looks of the best. A quick little tip is when you're removing this black sub fender, it kind of, you remove those screws and it comes off and forward and then down. So that took me a while to figure that out. So just a little tip. Now I'm going to unplug the blinkers, unplug this connection over here, fish it all the way back through here, pull this taillight out through this trim piece, put the wiring through this new hole here, and then put the wire all the way back, plug it back in for the taillight, hook up the blinkers, and then wire everything back together, bolt it back together. Gonna unplug the blinkers here. Now we have a right blinker and a left blinker. I may mark these with a pen so that I can keep them straight and not have to go through the trial and error. I'll just put a dot on maybe the right one, or I could put an R and L. I think I'll do that. For what it's worth, right turn signal, rear turn signal is marked with a green from the factory, and the left is marked with red. The main tail light that you'll be reusing is right here, just in front of the battery, in front of the fuse box. It's just actually this big one. You can follow it all the way up through here, all the way down and goes to this taillight, the top one that you'll be reusing. So I'm going to unplug that, feed it all the way through, unplug it, or I guess you could cut this plastic here and fish it through without unplugging it at all. I knew I wasn't going to reuse this piece since it was coming off anyway, so I just cut this with a tin snips so that I could feed this brake light wire through, since it's just indexed here on the piece we're going to be using. And that way I didn't have to remove the rear fender here, and because this connector is too big to fish through. So I just cut the piece that I'm not going to be reusing anyway. Saved me a few minutes there. So here's this piece. Now it's all off, the blinkers are unplugged, and I just snipped this so I could pass that wire through. Now it's just a matter of, I don't even have to unplug the other wires. I'm just going to seat this in here, and this will screw on the new piece. It's actually made to go on there and fit right on there. It's awesome. So that should be pretty easy. This is the main taillight here that will be feeding the taillight that you will be keeping. This little guy is a taillight, that second taillight that came off the fender that I cut with the tin snips that we won't be reusing, the big part you're trying to get rid of. Cover this with a little electrical tape. You don't want this connector just getting water on it and shorting out or doing something weird, so I'm just going to put a little electrical tape around that to make it a little more watertight. There, that's covered just with a little electrical tape. Put one over the top and then wrapped one around the circumference and down the wire to just keep it watertight. So just to be clear, now that I'm wiring this up, the top light stays on top and fits right into the existing fender nicely. The bottom light is removed and is not coming back. Man, believe it or not, I detailed this bike out before I did this, but this is where the two halves come together, and obviously I didn't need to clean that up a little bit. Just to be clear, you do not need to remove this fender to do this tidy tail. It's just the subframe part, or not the subframe, but the subframe fender, black fender part. Not the subframe itself, just this black fender. You can leave the white fender, you can leave these screws in. I removed them, but I didn't need to, I just put them back. So now I just put the top tail light that came off the top of the other trim piece, and then just put the screws back in. It fits perfectly. I mean, it's like just the way it's supposed to be. Now it's just a matter of fitting up where I'm gonna test fit the blinkers. So I'm test fitting this up here. This hole will go up in here where a screw goes, so those blinkers are gonna need to mount somewhere in this area, and yes, a hole will need to be drilled. And then the blinkers, of course, will be plugged in on the underside. And this shows how this black fender kind of just, comes off once all these screws are removed. So here I am test fitting the template. You can use the rubber backing on the Sickass taillights and hold it up here, and I'm going to mark the drill hole, which is next to the wire hole, and then drill the wire hole just in front of where the screw hole is, but keep them close, far enough apart to where they don't overlap and you blend your mounting hole into this wire hole. So we'll drill the screw hole next. So here I've marked the mounting screw hole. Use a 7/32 drill bit to drill that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So you can see the 7/32 hole on the right, that's for mounting the Sickass taillight. The 5/16 drill bit is bigger, that's for the wires to feed through. So you can see how I fish the wire through the 5/16 hole, and then I'll use this screw from the backside with the washer to screw into here to mount my new turn signal. So there's the screw holding on the turn signal, and now there's the blinker wire coming through. So we'll have to decide how to route that back through. I might drill a hole up in here to get it to the top side and then put silicone in it. So I drilled a little hole here so I can feed this new blinker wire up through here and then connect up onto this top side. I can use some silicone to seal that. You can see I have the left blinker mounted, plugged it into the original left blinker. Now it's just a matter of repeating it on the right side and then buttoning up all the wires tidy in here and putting this back on. And then we'll have our tail tidied up. Then we'll just get the license plate on. So here's a little better view. Have the screw in here for each Sickass blinker, and then I put the wire through the hole that I drilled here. The wire for this blinker is going to go through here, the wire that I drilled here. You'll connect them into the blinkers on top, tidy this up in the pre-existing channels, and that'll be it. There's the right side working. There's the left side. Get your wires all tidied up again into this channel. They do fit pretty well. And then dab some silicone on this these holes here where you drill to put your blinker wires through so that, you know, it's not a point of entry for water. So to get this back sub fender piece back in under the fender, it kind of has to slide, you have to kind of slide it forward and then back, and it indexes inside this fender. And then you kind of go forward again to get it to where it fits up in here, and you get these screw holes lined up. So take your time with it. Get your wires tucked up on this right side and it'll work out. And look, hey, now we're starting to look like something. You can see the tail lights are on. The tail light is on. The blinkers are on. They work. I tested the brake light and everything before I buttoned all that back up. Everything works. And yeah, it's coming together. Just takes a little patience to get that black piece back on. Okay, so here's some screws we had to put in. We had to put in the screw right up there. I know it's hard to see, sorry. There's a screw at the top of that fender, a teeny one. And then put the screw in here and that screw there, and then I'll do the same on the other side. So those 3 screws will go in, and then the 3 on the other side. Getting close. Okay, here we are. I tied up my wiring here with a few extra zip ties. Don't mind these. These are, I think I'm going to put some heated grips on, so that's for something later. But everything's tidied up. Everything's on. And there they are. Yeah, it looks good. Much cleaner.